A child abandoned in a park with no trace of his mother? Her mother leaves her child on a park bench and just vanishes into thin air. An old man, shocked and worried by what he sees, immediately calls the cops. Weeks later, Tom swept the winding paths of Emily Park with almost paternal care. The park, with its old-world charm and ornate structures, was an oasis in the middle of the urban bustle, and he was its guardian. That morning, a trembling sun filtered through the leaves, tinting the gravel paths and rough iron benches with a shade of old gold. Although his work was routine, each day offered small variations that kept his love for the job alive. He felt a deep connection with every corner of the park, almost as if every flower, every bench, and every path were part of his own existence. As he evenly distributed the gravel displaced by the hurried steps of the early morning visitors, something unusual caught his attention. At an isolated picnic table, a small boy immersed in his world of crayons and papers, colored with the seriousness of an artist at work. His tiny figure contrasted with the loneliness around him. Tom frowned, set the broom aside, and approached with measured steps. Upon reaching the boy, he crouched down to his level, his knees creaking softly. "Hi, what's your name?" he asked gently, looking around for any adult that might belong to the scene. "Kevin," the boy replied without looking up from his coloring book. "I'm waiting for my mom, she's at a job interview." Tom nodded, though a knot of concern slowly formed inside him. "And she left you here alone?" he inquired, his worry growing like a shadow at noon. Kevin nodded, and for a moment, a silence filled with unease surrounded them, only interrupted by the distant rustle of leaves in the wind. Tom decided it would be best to stay close, watchful and protective, without invading the small space the boy had created around himself. From his new position, he observed the passers-by, looking for any face that showed signs of recognition towards Kevin. It was then that he saw him, a man with a furtive look and hesitant steps, seemingly more interested in Kevin than in the park's charms. When their eyes met, the man hesitated, his expression tensed, and without warning, he turned and disappeared into the grove. Tom's heart raced, something wasn't right. The instinct he had developed over the years told him the boy might be in danger. He approached Kevin again, determined to get more information without alarming him. "Kevin, has your mom left you here before?" he asked, trying to sound as casual as possible. Kevin looked at him and shook his head. "It's the first time. She said she wouldn't be long." Tom nodded, striving to stay calm. "Let's wait for her together, okay? In the meantime, can I sit with you?" The boy smiled, relieved to have company. "Yes, you can help me color." As Tom sat on the bench next to the table, he picked up a crayon and began to color a part of the drawing Kevin had assigned him. "Your mom must be very proud of you, you're a great artist," he commented, seeking to reassure both the boy and himself. Kevin smiled shyly. "She likes it when I paint. She says I have talent." Tom continued coloring, but his eyes kept moving, constantly scanning the surroundings. The memory of the man he had seen earlier didn't leave him in peace. "And what do you like to paint the most?" he asked, trying to keep Kevin talking. "I like landscapes, like this park," Kevin said, looking up to admire the trees and flowers. "It's very pretty here." Tom nodded, sharing that love for the place. "Yes, it is. I take care of this park, it's my job, and I like it a lot." "It must be a nice job," Kevin said with admiration in his childish voice. Tom smiled, grateful for the boy's innocence and honesty. "It is, and meeting people like you makes it even better." "Hook, what would you do if a mysterious call warned you to stop searching for the missing mother?" As the sky turned shades of orange and purple with the setting sun, Tom and Kevin remained seated in the park, side by side. Their conversation flowed with Kevin's innocence and Tom's quiet wisdom. Although the boy was reserved at first, the evident kindness of the older man encouraged him to open up. "My mom said not to talk to strangers," Kevin mentioned, fiddling with a crayon between his fingers, his eyes shining with a mix of curiosity and caution. Tom smiled warmly, a smile that emanated a tranquility only experience could provide. "That's good advice," he nodded, his eyes observing the horizon as the sun slowly faded. "But it's also important to be safe. It's not good to be alone in a park without anyone you know nearby." Kevin looked at his shoes, then nodded slowly, his lips forming a thin line. "She told me to stay here, that she would come back." Tom's heart tightened at hearing the firmness in the boy's voice, so similar to his own granddaughter Emily. The memory of her laughter and the void left by her abrupt departure in that accident still pained him deeply. Seeing Kevin, his protective instinct intensified. He wouldn't let this boy suffer a similar fate if he could help it. Tom thought of his daughter and how the pain of losing Emily had created an emotional distance between them. They hadn't talked much since the accident, both immersed in their own grief. Helping Kevin could be a way to redeem himself, to fill that void with some kindness. With the sky darkening quickly and no sign of Kevin's mother, Tom made a decision. "Let's go to my house," he said in a soft but firm voice. "It's dangerous to stay here when it's already night." Kevin looked at Tom with uncertainty, but something in the older man's eyes gave him confidence. Hesitant at first, Kevin nodded, grabbing Tom's outstretched hand. Together, they walked down the streets lit only by streetlights to Tom's modest home. Upon arrival, Tom prepared a simple but nutritious dinner. He watched as Kevin devoured the food, each bite a reminder of how neglected he had been. "Do you want more?" Tom asked, seeing the voracity with which Kevin ate. Kevin looked up, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said shyly, "but I'm full." After dinner, Kevin, exhausted and satiated, fell asleep almost immediately on a small couch that Tom had prepared with blankets and a pillow. As he watched the boy sleep, something in his heart moved. Kevin's presence filled a void he had believed to be permanent. Tom sat in a chair near the couch, observing Kevin's peaceful breathing. He thought about how life can change in an instant, how a stranger can become an essential part of your life without warning. His thoughts were interrupted by the shrill sound of the phone. Tom answered, a mix of curiosity and apprehension in his heart. "Hello." A cold, unknown voice resonated on the other end. "Don't look for the boy's mother," it said with a calmness that chilled the blood. "It's not in your best interest." The phone clicked ominously. Tom stood frozen, the receiver still in his hand. Who could know that Kevin was with him? The fear for both their safety grew inside him. Tom knew he couldn't ignore the warning, but he also couldn't abandon the boy. He walked over to the couch, kneeling beside Kevin and covering him with another blanket. "Don't worry, Kevin," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I'll protect you no matter what." The older man stood up and began checking the windows and doors, making sure everything was securely locked. His mind worked frantically, considering his options. He needed to protect Kevin but also find out who was behind that call and why. In the silence of the night, with Kevin asleep on the couch and the moon shining through the window, Tom allowed himself a moment of reflection. The memory of his past life intertwined painfully with the present, like threads of a tapestry torn by time and tragedy. Tom had been a dedicated police officer, a man who wore his uniform not just as a duty but as a calling. For years, he patrolled the city streets, facing challenges that demanded courage and compassion. His professional life was filled with tense and dangerous moments, but also camaraderie and mutual respect among his colleagues. It was a job he loved, but at the end of the day, what he truly valued was coming home to his family. Tom's home had always been a beacon of joy. Helena, his wife, was the heart of that home. Together, they had created a refuge of love and safety for their son Aiden and their daughter-in-law Jennifer. Little Emily, with her contagious laughter and zest for life, was the crown jewel of the family. Although losing Helena had been a devastating blow, The presence of his family had given him the strength to carry on.